Ikigai is a short and easily readable book that's largely centered around the lifestyle, routines and habits of some of the oldest and happiest living people in the world. People from the village of Ogimi in Okinawa, Japan, otherwise known as the Village of Longevity. The authors of the book, Hector Garcia and Francis Morales, embarked on their study and wrote the book hoping to help their Western audience try to discover their own Ikigai through the tools and wisdom of the Okinawans. Our video summary hopes to do the same by first going into detail about what Ikigai is, and then showing you how to find your own Ikigai with some of the tools and techniques outlined in the book. Towards the end of the video, we'll also briefly touch on some of the other habits and routines the Okinawans follow that help them achieve their long-lived happiness, namely being diet, exercise, and never retiring from work. So, without further ado, let's jump into the video. We'll start with the elephant in the room. What in the world is Ikigai? Well, you can basically think of it as your life's purpose, or the reason you wake up each day. And although it's had some historical shifts in meaning, Ikigai is usually described as both a personal pursuit that brings meaning, purpose, and fulfillment to your own life, while also being a socially driven pursuit that provides benefit and meaning to the lives of those around you. So for some, their Ikigai might be building massive companies and delivering valuable products to the world, while for others, it might simply be taking care of their grandchildren each day and watching them grow up. The point being that your Ikigai doesn't have to be some world-changing mission for it to be meaningful to you, and often isn't even something you're necessarily striving for. It's simply something that's personal to you, makes you feel excited to wake up and live each day, and often offers some kind of benefit to others. Another important part of the Ikigai concept, especially when considering the more traditional Japanese meaning, is about embracing the joy of little things, and being in the present moment as often as possible, which is again why your life's purpose doesn't need to be anything grandiose or world-changing. So now, how to actually find your Ikigai? Some of us were lucky and seem to have found our Ikigai from an early age, say Lionel Messi playing football or Taylor Swift writing music. But for many others, trying to find their life's purpose is a mission that never ends up getting completed. So how can you actually go about finding your life's purpose, especially if you have literally no idea where to start or how to find it? Well, it can actually be pretty helpful to think about it like this. Your Ikigai sits at the intersection of 4 different categories: what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. In trying to find your own Ikigai, you would fill in each section with the kinds of activities, hobbies, careers, or otherwise that suit you based on your own experiences and understanding of the world, and then attempt to find any overlap between them or ways to combine the activities into a single Ikigai. One footnote on this diagram though. Some of the activities that would fill each section may come pretty easily and naturally, while others might take more time and self-reflection to come up with. For instance, maybe you have a bunch of things you're good at and can be paid for, but don't really have any hobbies you're passionate about. Or maybe you have plenty of activities you love engaging in, but you're not particularly good at any of them, especially not good enough to be paid for them. Or maybe you love what you do at work and you're pretty great at it, but you also crave a sense of serving the larger community with your day-to-day life. Whatever your diagram looks like, it should help paint a picture of where you are currently in search of your Ikigai, as well as acting somewhat like a checklist to help you find activities that potentially tick the other boxes you're yet to fill. Another tool that works similarly to the previous diagram and acts kind of like a compass in searching for your Ikigai is the concept of flow. If you're not already familiar with the concept of flow, you can think of it as an optimal experience, or basically how you feel when you're completely immersed in something. You lose track of time, you may forget about other important responsibilities you have, and you're also probably pretty happy. As Csikszentmihalyi says in his book, flow is the state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience itself is so enjoyable that people would do it even at great cost for the sheer sake of doing it. We've all felt this before. Maybe you spent an afternoon with a book and completely forgot about the world going by. Or perhaps it was a beautiful day for surfing and you didn't even realize how many hours you'd spent in the water until you noticed the sun starting to set. Similar to your Ikigai, the activities that put you into a flow state are going to be personal to each of us. What this means is the activities we flow with tell us something intrinsic about ourselves and the kinds of hobbies or interests that are aligned with our spirit. And so you can essentially use your flow activities as a compass to try and point you in the general direction for who you are, what activities you love, and ultimately, your Ikigai. So let's go through how to use said compass. Again, similar to the previous exercise, you'll want to write out all the activities that naturally put you into a state of flow. They could be things you're currently actively engaging in, or maybe you need to flash all the way back to childhood to remember the kinds of activities that you love doing for the sheer sake of doing them. If nothing really comes to mind, then you'll want to brainstorm some activities that you think will put you into a state of flow. Perhaps gaining inspiration from like-minded friends or family members close to you, or even from someone you aspire to emulate. Once we've put these activities down on paper, we can then begin analysing them and trying to gain insight about what our potential Ikigais may be. So ask yourself, what do all these activities have in common? Why do these specific activities put me into a state of flow? For example, are all the activities you most like doing the ones you practice alone or with other people? Do you flow more when doing things that require you to move your body or just use brain power? Are your flow activities outside in nature or indoors in your own company? These questions and their answers should teach you something about yourself and what you should be engaging in for a purposeful, meaningful existence. Ultimately though, it's important that we understand and accept that this is going to be a lifelong process. You're a dynamic, ever-evolving human being whose interests are going to change and adapt constantly over time. To think that the things you loved and were fully immersed in at 20 years of age are going to hold true until you're 90 is most likely unrealistic and places far too much pressure on yourself to find the right thing. And lastly, the final tools to help us on our journey of finding our Ikigais are the tools of mindfulness and self-reflection. You've all probably heard these buzzwords before, but they're worth defining so we know exactly what we're talking about. Mindfulness involves being present and aware in each moment, and often means paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without any kind of judgment, simply observing. While self-reflection involves examining your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and considering their meaning and significance in the grand picture of your life. Both of which can be incredible tools in helping you find your Ikigai. By being mindful and present in each moment, you're able to better identify which activities bring joy and fulfillment, or why certain other activities don't. While self-reflection allows you to examine your own values and beliefs and how they align with your Ikigai, ultimately allowing you to gain a deeper understanding of what's most important to you and how those values can help guide you towards the kind of life that will give you a deep sense of joy and fulfillment. Overall, mindfulness and self-reflection should simply put you in touch with who you really are and where your true values and interests lie, which if you're really trying to find your life's purpose, it's basically a necessity. So, 3 final tips in trying to find your Ikigai before we move on. 1. You need to be willing to experiment, fail, and adjust. It may take some trial and error to find your Ikigai, so don't be afraid to try new things and adjust as you go. It's important to be open to new experiences and to be willing to fall on your face in failure throughout the journey. Remember what Winston Churchill said, success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. 2. Ask friends and family for help. Sometimes those closest to us seem to know us better than we know ourselves. Consider taking suggestions from friends and family members as to what they think your potential Ikigais may be. Their suggestions might sound weird or even be entirely wrong, but they also might surprise you if you give them the chance. 3. Take action. Once you've identified your Ikigai or even just a potential one, it's important to take action to pursue it. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Don't settle for identifying an Ikigai and then delay taking action on it until sometime in the future. It's the trap so many of us fall into and really isn't the way we should be living our lives. Now let's go through some of the other factors that contribute to their longevity, health, and happiness. The first being diet. Diet is an aspect of life that the Okinawans understand like the back of their hands. They eat a wide variety of foods, averaging 18 different types per day. They place a heavy emphasis on the fruits and vegetables they consume, often getting 30% of their daily calories from vegetables alone, and usually following a plant-based diet. They love their highly antioxidant green jasmine tea, and they rarely eat sugar. In fact, their sugar consumption is about 65% less than that of the rest of the Japanese population. But one of the most important staples of the Okinawan diet actually has little to do with what they eat, and a lot more to do with how much they eat. One of the most common sayings in Japan is harahachibu, which is repeated before or after eating and means something like only fill your belly to 80%. In fact, on average, Okinawans consume around 1,800 calories per day, which can be compared to the roughly 2,100 calories consumed in the rest of Japan, or the whopping 3,600 average calories eaten each day by Americans. See, the problem with regularly eating enough or too many calories is that it often leads your body to feeling lethargic and worn down after having to expend a significant amount of its finite energy on digestion alone. Ancient wisdom from the Buddhists and the Greek Stoics support this, and now today we have further science to back it up from people like David Sinclair, the Australian scientist and author behind the anti-aging book Lifespan, which talks extensively about the benefits of fasting and calorie restriction and how both can add years on to the end of your life. We'll save that one for another video though. Overall, the main lessons that can be taken from the super dietitians in Ogimi are to reduce your sugar consumption drastically, try to eat highly nutritional, naturally occurring foods as opposed to processed foods, and to stop eating before you're completely full and bloated. Or in other words, eat a lot of vegetables and harahachibu. Exercise. Daily exercise is another staple of the Okinawan lifestyle that contributes to improving their longevity and overall quality of life. Don't get confused though, you're not going to find 90-year-old Okinawans running marathons or pumping massive weights in the gym each day. They're simply always moving, as in walking wherever they need to go, tending to their vegetable gardens every morning, or dancing over karaoke with their friends. And when the Okinawans do decide to engage in specific exercise, it tends to be the kind that doesn't overly stress their bodies, but rather attempts to create harmony between the mind, body, and soul, like yoga or Tai Chi. In fact, these gentle exercises are often considered elixirs of youth, for the extraordinary health benefits they offer and how well suited they are for older individuals who have a harder time trying to stay fit. For instance, Tai Chi has been shown to increase circulation, improve muscle tone and flexibility, and even slow the development of osteoporosis and Parkinson's disease. while yoga's been shown to improve flexibility and balance, reduce stress and anxiety, and generally be of great benefit to things like cardiovascular health, mental clarity, and better sleep quality. Overall, the Okinawans place a large importance on their daily movement and make sure to incorporate it into all aspects of their lives, like their social lives or in their work. They don't necessarily carve out time from their daily schedules to exercise, but rather integrate their daily schedules with exercise and happily live each day constantly in motion. Never retire. The last thing that the Okinawans do, or rather what they don't do, is retire. And this actually links back to the concept of flow again. In studying how people felt across different parts of the day, Csikszentmihalyi found that people were most happy or fulfilled when engaging in activities that were sufficiently challenging yet achievable, which is otherwise known as being in the zone of proximal development. In other words, people need something to do, and ideally something that's personally challenging and engaging. It's a common misconception amongst us humans that we want to relax and take a break from any responsibility. And while this may be true at certain times, for the majority of our lives we do in fact crave a sense of purpose in what we do, and ideally we want that thing to be positive and meaningful for ourselves as well as those we care about. We simply weren't made to sit around and do nothing. It's important to properly understand what's being said here though. No one's suggesting you never quit the job you hate until one day you finally drop dead, but rather never stop doing the things you love and the things you do well. Otherwise, you risk losing purpose, meaning, and overall happiness in life. Which is again why it's so important that each of us find our Ikigai. Who should read this book? I'd recommend the book to anyone who's interested in living a purposeful, meaningful, and fulfilling life, which could be a 21-year-old trying to figure out what career path to go down, or a 65-year-old retiree trying to figure out how best to live out their retirement. From what I gathered, the tools and wisdom of the Okinawans are things we could all do within our lives, irrespective of age, gender, demographic, or whatever other categories there are. So go get yourself a copy. It's a short and very easy to read book that I think most people would enjoy. And to leave you with a final piece of wisdom from the book. In finding your Ikigai and living a life of meaning and purpose, you cannot possibly overestimate the importance of community and social connections. While the book emphasizes the importance of personal interests and passions in finding your life's purpose, it also stressed the role that social connections play in supporting and sustaining your Ikigai. By cultivating a sense of community and belonging in what you do, you're also cultivating the necessary motivation, support, and opportunities for growth and fulfillment that are crucial aspects in finding and pursuing one's Ikigai. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with someone you love. Until next time.